Awesome. All right. So happy Tuesday, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar on design thinking and how we can use design thinking to validate your business idea. So welcome to everyone that is here on Facebook Live, and also the people that is in the Zoom platform, and for everyone that will watch the recording later. So my name is Luis Erazo, and I'm ready to start. So let me just share my screen. 1 second here. All right, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. Okay, awesome. So let's start. See what happened here. Okay. All right, so welcome to the how to use design thinking to validate your business idea. My name is Luis Erazo. I'm part of the Academy of Entrepreneurs team, so you have my email there, but you can also connect with me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. So I've been in the education space for almost, I would say, 15 years, and I'm being part of, I'm being a mentor and also an entrepreneurship facilitator for programs overseas and in Australia, and I'm part of the Academy of Entrepreneurs team. So I'm part of the academic and innovation team. Okay, so if you have questions you would like to follow up with me afterwards, you can send me an email or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter, right? So how we can participate in the Zoom platform? So it's pretty simple. You can ask your questions using the chat box. You can write them. Or if you would like to unmute yourself and just express your questions, I can answer those questions anytime. You can interrupt me anytime. But we have the lovely team of the Academy of Entrepreneurs monitoring the chat. So we have analysts doing kind of the monitoring of any of the questions. Okay, but I'll try to keep also maybe 10 minutes at the end so we can address any big questions. But if you have like a burning question, just unmute yourself and ask straight away. You can connect with the Academy of Entrepreneurs in Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, so you get the updates of upcoming events. We do free webinars every week. We also have a lot of amazing giveaways for our community. And for the ones who are not familiar with the Academy of Entrepreneurs, our mission is supercharge people with entrepreneurial skills and network to succeed. So we do a lot of things. We operate in Australia and also overseas, and we do a variety of entrepreneurial programs for our community. For young people, young leaders that want to succeed, and we're nurturing the pathway into becoming an entrepreneur. And this is our motto, boss your future, because we believe everyone has the power to be their own boss. And that's what we are doing here to help our community. Okay. If you would like to get to know more about Academy of Entrepreneurs, you can contact us through WhatsApp or email. Okay. But afterwards, you will receive a copy of these slides and also the recording, so you have all these details. Okay. All right, so let's talk about design thinking. So I'll cover some of the fundamental ideas about design thinking. So, but sorry if we have some people in the audience that is pretty well versed about design thinking. But I'll try to cover some foundations, and then I'll go into more specific tools that we can use, especially in the context of business ideas validation. Okay. But before we go into design thinking, let's explore why design thinking is important at the moment, on why, there's a lot of people talking about design thinking and a lot of entrepreneurs using design thinking when they're building a company. Okay, so the fundamental question here is why so many startups and businesses fail. So there are many reasons. But let's cover some of the most important ones, and then we can see how design thinking can help an entrepreneur to overcome those problems. Okay. So most of the startups, most of the businesses fail not because they don't have the capacity or the ability to build a product. Most business owners, most entrepreneurs, they build something, right? That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is not having enough customers that want to use, but also want to pay for a specific solution, a specific product, a specific service. Okay, so sometimes we like to use products. They are convenient. They help us to solve some of our problems. But when it comes to the time to pay, we avoid, taking that final step. So if you are building a product right now, if you have a business idea, this will be the biggest challenge that you will face, right? Finding enough customers that are willing to pay for your product. Okay, and I will say it's a universal kind of rule across industries, across geographies. No matter what the market is, no matter what the industry you're working on, no matter the type of product, no matter the audience, if you don't have customers paying, you don't have a business. Okay, so that's the most fundamental element that you need to address when you're running a business, or before you are starting thinking about running a business. Okay, so think about it. I don't know. We're gonna have a conversation at the end to see exactly where you are, in which state you are. You already have a business running, or you're thinking about it, running the business in the future. But keep that in mind. Okay, and the guy that you see here, his name is Steve Blank. He is the father of something that is called the customer development methodology. So this guy is American. He's a serial entrepreneur, but now he's kind of an academic. So he has built a lot of programs, taking all the learnings from his entrepreneurial life, and then teaching young generations on how to build better businesses, how to overcome the challenges of businesses. So check him out. He's amazing. He has a pretty amazing blog, and he has a lot of pretty good books that you can read if you really would like to know, kind of the most updated methodologies to build a business. Okay, so Steve Blank, highly recommend to follow him. Okay, so that's one of the problems, right? Lack of customers. But any business has a lot of problems, right? Or risk, things that you need to mitigate. The thing with the risk is it will never disappear, right? There is always risk in a business, right? The only thing that changes is the amount of risk that you have, how you can manage the risk, and the impact of that risk. Okay, so when you are just starting a business, the risk is super high. Anything can go wrong, and a lot of things will go wrong. But when you start, working on your product, getting some customers, building your team, you start reducing some of the impact of the risk, and you start, getting better at identifying the risk even before it happens. Why? Because when you start building a team, where you start building the internal capacity, you prepare yourself to solve those risks. Okay, but sometimes crazy things happen that nobody has control, like a pandemic, right? But most of the businesses will have product risk, market risk, technology risk, operational risk, financial risk, people risk, legal, and economic. And that's why we tend to build themes with a specific skills, right? That's why we tend to split a business in different departments, so we can focus on a specific risk. Okay, so we have an operations team, right? We have a marketing team, we have a product development team, we have a human resources team, we have a legal team. So one of the jobs that these teams do inside an organization is to build those internal capabilities that will help the company to survive, solving and mitigating some of those risks. Okay, but again, the number one risk is always customers. okay? It's always a market risk, okay? Because you can have the best team in the world, okay, with the most innovative minds in the world, the best ideas in the world, but what happens if you build something, right, that nobody is willing to pay for? So it doesn't matter that you have the best team. Of course, having the best team is great because you can easily find other solutions to solve the problem. Or you can have the best product in the world, right? You know, the biggest technology in the world, the largest capacity in the world, the best quality in the world. But then again, nobody is excited about your product. So customers is at the end, I will say, is the highest risk in any type of business. Okay, and that's why design thinking is one of the kind of methodologies that has been developed in the last 10, 20 years to try to solve this challenge, or to try to give, you know, entrepreneurs and founders some skills so they can navigate around the risk of finding customers, or at least reducing the risk of building a product, building a business, you know, without knowing much about your customers. So that's why this design thinking is important. Okay. So the number one reason why most of the businesses fail is because they build something that nobody wants. Okay. So this is a big idea. Okay. Why? Because you're going to spend years, right, building a product, and then launch your product, and then you're going to spend years marketing that product, and nothing could happen, right? And this happens a lot of the times. And that's why many businesses, you know, die 3 years, 4 years, 5 years after they launch. So they have some traction, they have some momentum, maybe they raise some money. But at the end, if they're not able to find more customers to pay for the product, eventually the business, you know, it's out of the market. Okay, so this is the number one reason why startups and businesses fail. And I'm not inventing this. There are reports, there's, you know, research around this, and this is, you know, across, you know, kind of what is out there. Of course, there are, you know, other authors and papers that you find around this, that some people may say that is something different, maybe technology changes, economic changes, but I would say across, you know, the literature out there, this is kind of the most important reason. Okay, so there is a pretty amazing research that was developed in 2019 that actually lists the top 20 reasons why startups fail. Okay, and the top one is no market need. Okay, so no market need means that there are not enough customers that want your product and they're willing to pay for your product. Okay, but there are more problems. Okay, for example, the second one, run out of cash. So you start with some money, you have maybe some personal money, you ask money to your family, friends, you raise some money from a venture capitalist, and you're building a product, you know, you are excited, 1 year building a product, then you launch it, then 1 year spending money on marketing, you know, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Twitter, YouTube, but nobody's paying. So eventually the money, you will lose all the money, okay? Not having the right team, okay, having a competitor that takes, you know, the market share and, you know, doesn't leave anything for you. So there are a lot of problems, but design thinking seeks, you know, tries to help with some of those, okay, specifically with the first one, okay. So if you ever wonder why design thinking is important, just think about that. Design thinking will help me to mitigate the number one problem, you know, not identifying a big enough market, or not having a big enough, you know, number of customers that will pay for my service. Okay, but it will also help with other things, right? With pricing, you know, with product, because design thinking also help you with some techniques to build your product development. Helps you, you know, in that transition to identify a business model, you know, until you have like a sustainable stable business model, and also help you, to kind of get a lot of feedback and interaction with the customers, so you don't ignore the customers. Okay, so that's kind of the why design thinking is important, and why so many entrepreneurs and so many founders use design thinking when they're building a business. Okay. So what you see here is being the traditional way of building a business, okay, which is build first, sell later. Okay, so this is kind of, the paradigm. So you have a great idea, and I have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs. At the beginning, they don't feel, the trust, or they don't feel that sharing the idea, it's a smart decision to make. So a lot of people, they're pretty, reliant to even talk about the idea. But this is changing. But if usually this is what happens, right? You have a big idea, you don't want to share it, and so you start building something. Okay, I have friends. I have a friend that has spent maybe 3 or 4 years, and he's working a big idea around drones. Okay, but he's still building the idea, and he's keeping it like pretty safe, pretty secure, not talking much about it. Hopefully it works for him, but he's using the traditional way of doing this. Okay, so you have a big idea, you start building your idea, you put some money, you put some energy, you put some resources, but then even you want to speed up the process, so you need to buy time. Okay, so you need to pay for someone to help you, or you need to buy technology, or you want to go to the next step, and maybe you don't have more money. Okay, so what do? So you have a product, and then you need to go out and start raising money. Okay, and you have most of the times an unfinished product. So you need to go start pitching about your idea, to see if anyone would like to invest in your idea. You can get money from a bank, you can get money from family, you can get money from your friends, or you get a mortgage, whatever it is, in many kind of funding options. But if you want to raise money from angel investor or a VC, at this stage it will be pretty challenging, and especially because investors, they would like to see traction. They would like to see that users are really excited about your product. So at this stage, you only have a product. You don't have any potential customer, any potential user. So it's kind of a closed circle, right? So you start building a product, then you need more money, or you need more time, and you need to find more resources, so you can speed it up. Okay, of course, if you don't want extra resources, extra money, you can do it on your own, but it will take you longer time. Okay, and by the time you are finished, maybe someone else with more resources and more time already built this. And especially now with all the technology changes, that usually happens, right? So thinking that you are the only one in the world that has this amazing idea, it's pretty impossible. Someone else in the world is building something pretty similar to what you are building or already built. Okay, so this is the traditional way: build first, sell later. So what design thinking says is, okay, let's try to change this traditional way of doing it. Okay, and why this is the traditional way? Because this comes from 67 years of businesses that have operated in this way. Okay, because in the past, the strength of a business was in the intellectual property, right? If you can build something, you can hold in that product, you can hold the patent, and you have an advantage, right? But now it's kind of different. Why? Because the behavior of the customers have changed, and also the technology life cycle have changed. So now you see, a lot of big companies disappearing, and now you see small companies getting a lot of market share. Okay, and also because now the customers, They would like to get, you know, more interaction with a company. They would like to, you know if they are, you know, a ethical company, you know, if they take care of the environment. So now it's not just about your product, it's also about, you know, how you interact with your community, and also about your brand. Okay. So this worked for many years, but now it's changing. Okay. So design thinking is here to say, you know, don't waste time, money, and effort building the wrong product. Okay. So design thinking will help you to change that. Instead of build first, sell later, do the opposite, right? Sell first and build later. So it sounds simple, you know, kind of a play of words, but it's a big change, right? Build first, you have first a product, and then you go and find customers. Sell first is first find customers and then build the product. So it's you know, it's a 180 degrees kind of change. Okay. So every time you think about a product, think about that the product is not just the solution. Okay, it's not just the final outcome. You know, even it's a physical product, digital product, you know, an experience, you know, a service, a process. So that's a component of your product, but you also need to think that the product has two more components. One is the customer, who is going to pay for the product, plus the problem. So what is the problem, or what is the pain point that you are solving with that specific product? Okay. So it's always a combination of three factors. Your customer, like, you know, for who you are building something, the problem that product is solving, you know, the why, the reason why someone will use your product, and the solution, which is the how. You know, how are you solving that problem for that specific customer? So the sell first approach and build later approach actually advocates that you start identifying first the problem and the customer, and then later work out the solution. And the traditional way to do business was start with a solution and then go out, build your solution, and then go out into the market and start finding customers. The problem with that is, if you're lucky, you find a customer straight away. If you are not lucky, you can spend years finding for that ideal customer and that ideal problem, and you may run out of cash. So you will be out of business, and you have spent a lot of time and energy building something, you know, that nobody wants to use. Okay. So what you see here in this graph is something that was put together by a consulting firm that is called Gartner in 2016. So what they did is they combined three of the most, I would say, innovative approaches that businesses are using right now to build products and to build businesses. Okay, so one is design thinking, the one we're talking today. The second one is the lean startup, and the third one is the agile. Each one has a different focus. Okay, but just to give you kind of an overview, design thinking helps you in that phase, you know, to identify who is the customer and what's the problem the customer have. Okay. Lean startup combined with agile will help you to develop that product. Okay, and to build different versions of your product until you find the one that satisfies the user. Okay, so lean startup is kind of an iterative methodology that helps you to build something, get some feedback from the market, learn from that feedback, and take those learnings and apply those into the product development process. Okay, and agile, you know, gives you some strategy on how you can speed up that process and how can you reduce a lot of waste into the building process. Okay, you can use these methodologies either if you're building physical products or digital products. Okay, So if you are interested in learning more about this, go online. We have some courses around this where you can learn Lean Startup and also Agile. Okay, but why are we just right now we're talking about design thinking? Because that's the first one in the process. Okay, why? Because it's sell first, build later. Okay, you can have the best lean and agile people in your team, and you can start building products, but that may be the wrong product. Okay, so the first thing that you need to do is use design thinking to identify the who, right, the customer, and the why, the problem. Okay, so that's the importance of design thinking. But that's how you could combine design thinking with other methodologies as well. Okay. Design thinking is if you already have a business, right? The business is already running. You can also use design thinking if you want to explore new opportunities. Okay, so design thinking is also kind of an innovation tool because it helps you to validate problems and validate customers. Okay, why? Because remember, sell first. Sell first means find customers first, problems first, and then build the product. Okay, so you can still use it even if you already have established business and you're pretty confident with that business model. You can still use design thinking to find alternative opportunities. Okay, explore new opportunities for your business. Okay, so every company that wants to survive now with all these rapid changes in the market needs to do two things, right? It needs to do, the first thing is exploring. Every business needs to always be exploring new opportunities, right? Finding potential new markets, potential new segments, potential new problems to solve. That's one of the things. And many businesses don't do that. That's a problem, right? Because in 6 months from now, in a year from now, someone else can come and do a better version of what you're already doing. And then they will take all your customers. Okay, so design thinking helps you at the beginning when you're building, and also later on when you already have a business. Okay. The second thing a business also do or should do well is exploitation. So first exploration, finding new opportunities, and the second one is exploiting. So exploiting means that you become pretty good at what you're currently doing. So every time, so you improve your product. Let's say you already have customers paying for your product. So in the exploitation means that you take, improve the quality of your product, you adapt your product to have different versions of your product, you tweak things in your product so you can satisfy new markets. You create processes internally in your company. So you solidify kind of your position using that specific product into a market. Okay. Many businesses are pretty good at doing that. The problem is if you only spend time in the exploitation phase and you don't focus in the exploration, you will be out of business pretty soon because someone else will end up doing whatever you are doing. So this is called the innovation dilemma, right? Where should you spend your time and your talent inside a company? It's not easy to decide, right? Should I focus just on new opportunities or just making sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm the best in the world on doing those? The answer is you need to do both if you want to survive. Okay. So if you want to read more about this, the innovation dilemma, follow this guy. He sadly passed away, I think 2 years ago, Clayton Christensen. So I will say, is the best, or he was the best in the world in the topic of innovation. He talks also a lot about design thinking and how design thinking can help you into finding a solution for that dilemma. Okay, so highly recommend this guy. he has like 20 different books, but if you can start with the innovator's dilemma first, and then you can read the innovator's solution. So if you really are interested in, using kind of the best knowledge out there to build your business. Okay, so that was kind of, the context, to give you a little bit of the context of why, why design thinking is important, and why it has been developed, and why it's been used by, for so many people right now in the industry. Okay, but now let's go into, okay, what is design thinking? Let's go into more about the specifics about this design thinking methodology. Okay, so design thinking was, there are many, I would say, institutes that have worked with design thinking, but it started in the United States, in the Stanford University, in the design school. Okay, 25, 30 years ago. So design thinking, the simplest way to think about design thinking, it's a methodology, okay, that helps you to solve problems with a specific way of solving problems. And that specific way combines three things, okay? One is combination of human needs, right? The first one. The second one is technology, okay, second one. And the third one is business sustainability, okay? So what design thinking will help you to do is to find a solution for a problem, ticking those three boxes, okay? So a solution that will meet human needs, okay? So that is called desirability, okay? That there is someone out there that desires your product. The second one is technology feasibility, right? That you can actually build that solution, okay? That is that we have the technology available right now, so you can build it right now. You don't have to wait 5, 10 years to build it. And the last component is financially viable, okay? So it makes sense for you, what you're charging for this product and compared to the cost of building this product, okay? So it's a methodology that will help you to solve problems in a pretty specific way, okay? And why it combines these three elements, right? Because it wants to solve, that problem of not finding enough customers or not having market need. That's why the human component is pretty important, but it's not the only one, okay? Because you need to combine it, right, with the second one, which is the technology, which actually is the product. Remember where we saw that a product is a combination of three things, right? A customer, a problem, and a solution. So the customer and the problem, I will say that they can be combining one element, which is the human desirability. Then the product is the second element, which is the technology feasibility. And then we're adding an extra component, which is the financial viability, okay? That you can actually build a business around that specific product that is solving a problem for that specific customer, okay? So this guy, Tim Brown, is the chairman of IDEO. So IDEO is, I would say, the biggest design company in the world. So they advocate design thinking, that they create a lot of tools, a lot of processes that you can use for design thinking. And you can check them on Google. You can go to the website and you can find a lot of resources if you want to learn more about design thinking, okay? So here, just to summarize what I was saying, right? So you have the three elements: human desirability. So that means that you are building a solution that people want, someone desires, someone wants to use. Technological feasibility, so solutions that can realistically be built, that you have the technologies available, your capabilities, are the right ones to build it, you have the right skills. you have the right, you have the money to build that, okay? And the last one is the business viability, okay? So a solution that will become in a sustainable business model, okay? And then what design thinking, then the extra thing that design thinking kind of put it into the mix is always start with the human desirability, okay? Because if you use the traditional way, building first and then finding the customers, you can still have those three elements, right? You identify first the technology, then you find customers, and then you can build a business around it, right? You can start in that way, but then you have, the challenge of not finding, a big market to use that product. So what design thinking is adding into the flavor is, okay, what about if we don't start, with building with the technology, or let's not start looking at the viability of the business. Let's start about identifying, the human element, okay? Identifying that there is actually people that wants to use our solutions, or identifying that, someone really has a problem. So that's the self-first approach. You start with human desirability. So this is a key area. So every time you think about, design thinking, think about this, okay? If you want to use design thinking, you need to start with human desirability, okay? And that's why design thinking is considered a human-centered approach, okay? Because it always starts with a human element, okay? So there are different ways to implement design thinking, okay? This is one of the ways. So the standard, the Stanford University, this is kind of the most common one, different phases, but there are other bodies that have built processes on how to implement design thinking. For example, the Council in United Kingdom, which has a pretty cool also process. But this is I would say the most common one, and the one that you will find much more information online. Okay, so there are different phases. The first one is called the Empathize Phase. Is where you get to know your customers, interact with potential customers, and try to understand their needs. Okay. The second one is define. So define is kind of framing the problem. So identifying the right problem for that specific customer. Third one is ideate, which is all about coming up with ideas, solutions to solve that problem. Fourth one is prototype, so building versions of those ideas, pretty low fidelity versions of those ideas. So you can later test those ideas with your potential customers. And after you get some feedback from the market, you can implement some of those ideas, okay? So those are the 6 most common steps used in design thinking. And then what I will do right now is I will try to break down each one of them, give you some tools and techniques that you can use, and then we can have some conversation, answer some questions. Okay. So just to summarize, design thinking is a human-centered methodology or human-centered approach to solve problems, in a pretty particular way. Okay, solving a problem, making sure that you identify the right human needs, and you have a solution that is both feasible and financially viable. Okay, but you should always start with humans, right? So you are starting with the problem. You're starting with a deep understanding what's the problem that you want to solve first. Okay, so how do you solve a problem? First, you need to identify what the problem is, okay? And people is not pretty good at telling you their problems, right? You can go to the street and ask someone, you know, what's your biggest problem in your life? So most likely they won't answer that question straight away. But there are ways to get, and there are ways to understand the needs, the real needs and the real problems that a person is experiencing, okay? And the last component is an evidence-driven approach, okay? So instead of guessing, having assumptions, and just, right? What you're doing is you are, I will say it's kind of a scientific approach, okay? Because you have a pretty well defined process, and then you are follow pretty defined steps. But the way how you move from one step to the next step is actually getting evidence, you know, that you have a problem, you have a potential customer, then you have some ideas, then you have a prototype, and then you're getting some traction from the market with that prototype, okay? All right, so let's go with the first phase. So the first phase is empathize. So empathy is the foundation, okay? So what does it mean, empathy? So empathy is it's kind of putting yourself in the shoes of the user, okay? So there are a couple of things that you need to do to be able to empathize with other people, right? One of the things is you need to remove a lot of your preconceptions, you know, about how people behaves. That's called having a beginner mindset, okay? So it's like, okay, for a moment, I'm gonna stop, you know, having a lot of my own ideas. I'm just gonna listen. I'm just gonna interact. I'm just gonna let someone else to lead the conversation. So I'm gonna be an active listener. So that's also pretty important, right? I'm gonna have a genuine interest. You know, I will be curious. I will really would like to get to know someone. So that's how you empathize with people. And it's not an easy thing to do, but the more you start using some of the design thinking tools, the better you get at it, okay? But that's kind of the key in this phase. And I will say this is the most important phase, because if you get it wrong, either because you don't feel comfortable talking to people, either because, you know, after you heard someone, then you start putting your own ideas, so you don't get to kind of the root, to get those into those hidden needs from the user. It's pretty challenging that you're able to find that, you know, desirability. Okay. So how do you do this? Okay. So there are different ways. One is observing. So you can observe the users, like literally you can go and observe the users. So I have a friend that he wanted to build, not to build, but he has this idea of having the, you know, the perfect pillow, okay, because he had problems with the pillow. So he wanted to create something that could be the perfect pillow, okay, so he can have the best sleep, okay. So one of the things he started doing, he just literally went to some supermarkets and started observing, right? What's the process of when someone wants to buy a pillow? Do they actually always go to the supermarket? Do they check online and then go to the supermarket? You know, they test also the bed, you know, they test the blankets, you know, everything around the experience of buying a pillow. Okay, so that's observation. Okay, so it will change depending on what you would like to do, but you know, if there is a way that you can observe the user trying to the idea here is to try to find a way for you to observe how the user is solving that problem right now, okay, to see if that problem is pretty big, and identify if you can actually build a solution for that. Okay, the second one is engaging. Okay, and engaging means that you will have to talk to people, okay, and you need to interview people to get that deep understanding of their needs. Okay, so there are some ways to do these interviews, but you need to be willing to actually interact with people. Okay, either face to face, but now it's not that easy, but you know, on a video call, whatever channels you can use to interact with people. Okay, and the last one is immerse. This one is a little bit more difficult because it's like you actually kind of do the experience of the user on your own. So, for example, you know, going back to the pillow example, you know, you can also do the process by yourself on, you know, buying a pillow. Either, you know, it's a gift for someone else, or is it for you? So you experience the step by step. Try to replicate the experience of the user. Okay. So to summarize, observe the user, be the user, speak with the user. It's very important that you, if you can, if possible, try to have a face-to-face interaction, because, or if not, at least a video camera interaction, so you can document the body language of people, because when you may be asking something, they may not answer straight away, but you know, if you read the body language, it will be kind of easier to identify if they're telling the truth, if they are not comfortable with that question, if that question trigger, you know, a bad reaction. So you need to kind of be pretty good at not identifying those body language cues. Okay. And create something that is called the journey map. So journey maps is one of the design thinking tools that helps you to map each one of the steps of the user experience. So going back to the pillow example, you know, step one, go to the supermarket. Step two, talk to ask someone for help. Step three, start testing different pillows. Step four, maybe test the bed. You know, all the kind of touch points that the user has with that specific experience. Okay. So what are some of the tools? Empathy interviews. Okay. So you can find, there are templates for this that you can use, right? And if you go to the IDEO website, you can find templates for this and how you put together an empathy interview. Shadowing, you know, observing the user. Extreme users is something that you have a couple of already identified potential customers, but you are going to the kind of the extreme versions of those customers. Okay. So for example, let's say you're building something for students, right? So maybe domestic students. So extreme version could be, you know, an international student that just arrived into the country and doesn't have, you know, a good level of English. So you are taking your core customer and then you are going into kind of the extreme versions of that customer. And then contextual interviews. For example, this is while you are immersed in the experience with the user, you do the interviews. Okay, so these are some of the tools that you can use for this phase. There are more, but these are the most common ones. At least the empathy interviews, that's the key one that you should be able to use if you really would like to start doing design thinking to validate your business idea. Let me see how we go with the time. Okay, I'm gonna speed it up. So the second phase is define. Okay, so what you do here is unpack all your findings from the previous phase. And the outcome of this phase is to find needs. Okay, the real needs of the people you are having that interaction. That's one thing. And the second thing is called the insights. So insights are the things that are kind of unexpected, kind of, you know, where kind of creates like a wow moment, like something that wasn't that clear at the beginning, kind of wasn't clear in a superficial level, but after interacting with many customers, you think there is something there that is not easy to identify. Okay, and that will become one of the most important elements for you to build a business. Why? Because it's pretty hard for someone else to copy that insight, you know, that deep understanding of the needs of a user. Okay, so it's pretty critical that you get the first step right, but also you need to get this defining step right, because after you interact with the user, initially you think you assume that there is a problem. And then with the empathy interviews, you get a lot of data. You know, they tell you what they do, they tell you what they like, they tell you what they don't like. And then you need to cluster all that information. So you easily can have 50, 100 interviews. So it's a lot of things to analyze, okay? And there will be a lot of problems here in this phase. But you need to be able to find the pattern and identify the most common one, okay? So if you make this a step wrong, it also becomes a challenge, right? So because you haven't identified the most important problem for a customer, then when you build a solution and then you try to sell that, they will say, okay, I like it, but it's not something critical for me right now. So they will say, you know, well, I'll try for a while, you know, but they will never kind of be willing to pay for it. Okay. Also, there are some tools that will help you to do this phase. Mind mapping, analysis and clustering. For example, you see there, that's a real picture, right? So after you interview 10, 20, 30 different users, right? There are ways that you can start unpacking and clustering all those answers, you know, using the sticky notes with big walls to try to find the biggest problem. The point of view, I will say, is the most common one because it helps you to identify, you know, the user, the need, and the insight. So those three elements. So point of view, that's the most common one. And also the journey map. So the one that I was explaining, all the different steps in the user interaction. Okay. And then we go with the ideate. So you identify the needs, you have an insight, so you have a pretty clear understanding of the who, you know, of the customer and the problem they have. Now you move into the next phase, which is finding solutions or exploring solutions to solve that specific problem, okay? So here is where you go more into the volume of ideas instead of the, you know, quality of ideas. And usually you do this with your team, if you have a team. Otherwise, you do it by yourself, okay? So you can have ideation sessions where you can have 100, 200 ideas of potential solutions to solve that problem. And then there are ways to evaluate those ideas and identify, let's say, your top 3 ideas, and those are the ones you use to build the initial version of a product. Okay, so some techniques, brain drawing, generative design, analogous inspiration, which is just taking inspiration in other kind of situations that has elements similar to the problem that you're trying to solve, but are completely different industry, completely different problems. Brainstorming sessions, heaps of techniques here that you can use to ideate, okay? But the key element here is you need to find as many ideas as you can. Don't see with the first idea, because usually when we want to solve a problem, we have already an idea. But what design thinking is trying to teach is keep that idea, but take a step back, you know, identify an user, identify a need, identify an insight, and then go, you know, and find more ideas and include your idea, but open yourself to the opportunity to exploring other ideas, okay? Then comes the prototype, okay? So prototype is building a representation of those ideas, you know, so that a user can potentially interact with, okay? Either it's a physical solution or a digital solution, but the user needs to be able to interact with that version of the product, okay? So something as simple as a paper prototype, right? So I remember once we were building like a watch, like a digital watch. So literally, we just took some paper and some bracelets, and we built like a digital watch. And then we just small pieces of paper. We were designing the different kind of user interface. and that was the thing that different users were testing for a product that once we were building. Okay, so it could be something that simple as a simple paper prototype. Okay, or you can prototype an experience, an interaction, a service. But if your product is more into the digital world, there are pretty good tools. Some of these are free that you can use. The one that I highly recommend is this one, Envision app, because you can build, let's say you want to build an app, a mobile app, or a web app. You can use Envision app and you can easily do it without needing any coding experience. Okay, so you can build one for free, and if you want to build more, you can pay for it. Principle is another good tool to build digital prototypes. Protopie is also good. It has also like a free trial that you can use to build some ideas. And the last one is Marvel app. Okay, so any of those tools can help you to put the first version of a digital prototype. It could be an app. Let's say maybe you're thinking about a website, an e-commerce store, an e-learning platform, whatever type of online platform you're thinking, you can put something together here pretty quickly to get some feedback from the user. Okay. And then the last step is the testing. Okay, so the testing is pretty much taking that prototype, put it into the hands, of some of those users that you have the initial conversations in the first stage, get some feedback, and then either keep working in that idea because the feedback is pretty positive, going back to the ideation state and change the idea because the feedback was pretty negative, or completely, killing the process and going back to the empathy stage because that the problem that you build a prototype wasn't the right one. Okay, so it seems like a lot of things, but usually this can take a couple of weeks, right? So the empathy, you're going to spend, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks doing the empathy stage. The define ideation, you can do in a couple of days. Prototype, you need to be able to build a prototype in 1 or 2 days. If you're spending more than a week, 2 weeks, a month building a prototype, you are spending too much time. So try to build something with lower fidelity, something that is super simple for a user. And then in the testing, you can spend a couple of days. So it could be maybe 3, 4, 5 weeks, the whole process total. Okay. Okay, so testing, it could be, if your prototype is physical, prototype is an experience, or is it digital, whatever type of prototype you're building, you need to be able to get some users to actually use it, literally use it, and give you feedback about that. Okay. All right. So so we have 5 minutes. So just to kind of finalize it, always remember, right? 3 things that you need to consider if you want to use design thinking. First one is desirability, okay? So build solutions that someone wants. Feasibility, right? Build solutions that you're able to build. Viability is finding a sustainable business model around that idea. Okay, so desirability, feasibility, and viability. Okay, so key takeaways. Okay, building the wrong product. Okay, is one of the the easiest way that will guarantee failure. Why? Because wrong product at the end will mean that nobody would like to use the product. So that means no customers. That means no money to survive. Okay. So change, it's kind of flip the coin. Don't start with the product, start with the customers. So sell first. Okay. So what does it mean? It doesn't mean that you are selling actually because you don't have the product. It means that you are interacting with your customers to understand their needs. Okay. So always start with the customers with desirability. Okay. And then after you have that, and deep understanding of your customer and the problems, you can start using, lean startup, agile to build better products. Okay. And the last takeaway is trust the process. I didn't invent this. I just like it, and I'm kind of an evangelist of the process. But there is a lot, hundreds of pretty smart people that have spent decades working on this, and it has proved that it works. So trust the design thinking process. Start trying some of those tools if you really would like to start a business. Okay. All right. I think I didn't have much time, but let's see if there is any question, any comments, so I can address some of those.
Just people asking if the recording is going to be available. So yes, you can find it on our YouTube. Afterwards, it'll be uploaded. And I've just put the link there as well to the Facebook page, and so you can access that straight away. Otherwise, guys, if you have any questions for Lewis, please ask him now whilst you've got him in front of you.
And as I said, you can find me on, you can shoot me an email, find me on LinkedIn, find me on Twitter. I'm always, happy to have more conversations around this topic. And then, so we actually were starting a design thinking bootcamp. It's 4 weeks. We're starting that in Monday, in 2 weeks. So if anyone is interested in learning more about this, send an email to info@astudy.com. And then one of our lovely team members at the Academy of Entrepreneurs will reach out to you, and we'll explain to you how the bootcamp works, what are the things that you can get out of the bootcamp, how it can help you if you're building a business idea, and pretty much explain everything about the bootcamp. All right, and then, as I said, we run weekly webinars, weekly events around the business, entrepreneurship, innovation. So follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and then you can get updates so you can get access to those free webinars. The bootcamp is going to be face-to-face for now. So it's starting on the 11th. It runs for 4 weeks. So right now we don't have kind of the approvals to go to do face-to-face. So it's going to be online.
Yeah, perfect. So it will be online. So it's 100% accessible from wherever you are in Australia. If you're outside Sydney, in Sydney, you can get all of the material online via our platform, and participate in live classes with our other students as well. And basically just go at your own pace. So please get in touch if you're interested.
All right, so if we don't have any questions, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure for me to talk about design thinking. I will be, open to any follow-ups, any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you in a future webinar.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and have a lovely rest of Tuesday.
See you. Thanks. Bye-bye.